What's up guys? In this video, you're gonna learn the top 3 barriers you face when trying to progress as a poker player. Now, one of the most fun things about being a poker player is the constant leveling up. You're constantly trying to progress to the next level, whether it's the next financial level, the next stakes you want to play, and you're also leveling up your skills, your strategy skills, your mental skills, even your performance skills to get to that next objective. Now, as you're trying to progress as a poker player, you're going to run into some barriers. Now, these barriers are not physical, not like you run into a railing, but they're still very real. And these barriers are very often mental constructs, all right? We create these barriers for ourselves, often subconsciously, and they trap us. So today, we're going to go through the 3 most common barriers I've identified after working with literally hundreds of players and how to get past them. So you get past the first barrier, you'll then be on your way to the second one, and then on your way to the third one, all right? You'll have to get past each one of these barriers. It's almost like a checkpoint. Can you get past it or not? And most people, unfortunately, can't get past the first one. And if they do, they very often get stuck on the second one. And the third one is the holy grail to get past, but not many people even get there. All right, so today I want to educate you guys on what these barriers look like. You should be able to relate to basically where you are right now. Are you hitting barrier 1, barrier 2, or barrier 3? And I'll give you guys some action steps in order to get past them. All right, so the first barrier you need to overcome on your progression is the survival mindset. All right, so I'll put survival here, and we'll explain it. Now, most players get into poker with not much success behind them, in all honesty. I know myself, I was completely broke. Most of the players I've worked with use poker as their kind of occupation to build skills, but also to provide income for themselves. And very often we're in this mode of, I need to make money to pay for my bills. I need to make money for food, general survival needs. Now, for myself, I spent the first 25 years of my life in survival mode, so I can relate super strongly to this one. Any of you guys in survival mode right now, I relate to you super well, because I literally, into my mid-20s, I could not think more than a week ahead. My mind was always like, how do I go out tonight with my friends? How do I have enough money to pay for bills that if I don't, I'll get in trouble for? And how is my rent covered? Or if I got somewhere to sleep for the week? All right, that was generally how my mind worked for most of my life. All right. Now, with the survival mode, it's as it's described, right? You're in this mode of thinking that I need to get somewhere in order to survive. All right. So it's basic needs, covering food, shelter, and your living costs. All right. Now, in this mode, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters in terms of progression, in terms of financial freedom, in terms of achieving big goals, because survival is a stronger need. All right. So when you're in survival mode, you can't think further ahead. So in survival mode, you're very short-term sighted, right? You think in like days, sometimes weeks, but not months and years, because you can't, because survival needs dictate. Now, in survival mode, it has this really, really good benefit. The good benefit is you're always on, you're always alert, you're always ready. You've got this like kind of cortisol pumping through your body, and you need to perform and show up. So when you're below your survival threshold or towards it, you get shit done, all right? You just show up, hustle, grind, whatever it takes. This is showing like on a world level, like how many homeless people there are compared to how many people who scrape by, all right? The homeless people, although it's not an insignificant amount, is very, very small compared to the people who just keep their head afloat. How do so many people just afford to pay the bills, just afford to get by? Because survival needs always get met. Not always, but very often we find a way to meet our survival needs. Now, as a poker player, this is often where you have enough money to play the stakes you're at, but not above. You have enough money to cover your living costs, but not much more. You have enough money just for your kind of basic needs and just a little bit beyond, but not much more. Now, if you drop too far below, so imagine it's like a kind of graph going up like this. If you drop far below here, this initiates a real big panic response. So think for yourself, if you've been in this mode where you just got stuff done. I can picture myself, I was in Thailand. It was my second year, or my first year poker, and I was basically given a bill, me and my friends who were living in this villa, and they said, we need, I think it was like 6 grand by the end of 2 weeks, or you're kicked out, get out of here. And we were like, how the hell are we gonna make that? But because it was a survival need, and because we didn't want to go back to England with our tail between our legs and explain to our friends how this completely failed venture didn't work out, we grinded, somehow just made the money to pay that bill. Why? Because when survival gets initiated, it produces this kind of cortisol response, all right? So the first obstacle you need to overcome is your survival tendencies, all right? So The reason it keeps you trapped is, once you get above, so say you're here, you're just above your survival needs. Very often, stress goes away. Cortisol gets removed. All those things that were keeping you going, agitated, stop. And guess what happens? You ease off the gas and you go back to your survival mode. So the problem with survival mode is it's very addictive and you feel like you need a certain level of agitation, you need deadlines, you need consequences to get you to act. If you're someone who can't take action unless there's going to be a consequence, you're in survival mode. All right, you're in survival mode. All right, so the first thing to do is accept that and go, right, I'm in the survival mindset. How do I start getting out of it? All right, we'll talk about a framework for that towards the end. All right, so once you get past survival, so let's say we get to a point where we're able to live comfortably and we're not living paycheck to paycheck. We're not trying to think about just paying the bills and living week to week. We get to our next checkpoint. All right, so this one could take years to get past. For me, it took 25, probably 26 years before I got out of my survival mindset. And the next obstacle I hit, the next one that knocked me back, is stability. All right, stability. Now this one is a hidden one, right? This one's real tricky to get past. So when we get to stability, imagine you've been in survival mode and now you get to a comfortable financial situation. Let's say you've got a 10K role, a 20K role, 50K, whatever stability means for you. Now, you can breathe. You can breathe for the first time. Things start to feel comfortable. Things start to feel nice. You can start to buy the things you wanted to, go on the holidays you wanted to go on. You can start to live the life that you wanted to. And all of a sudden, you're less worried about the immediate consequences, all right? But because you spent a lot of time in survival mode, the last thing you want to do is go from stability back to survival, all right? So when you're in survival mode, you're always looking above and you're going, if I get this, I'll be happy. If I get 10 more grand, I'll be happy. If I can just change my financial situation, I'll be happy, all right? So you're always trying to strive for the next bracket. But now you get here in stability, you start going into protection mode, all right? And you're like, oh, wait a second. I don't want to lose what I've got. So the first time you start to worry about the risks you're taking, is it worth it relative to the consequences of it going wrong? All right, so now in this one, you start to protect what you have, all right? And you start thinking, is it worth risking going to the next level? All right, so myself, when I was playing the $100 games, this is when I hit my stability ceiling. I hit my stability barrier. I started asking myself, do you want to risk this, Adam? You spent 2 years getting to this level. Do you want to risk going back to survival mode? Because it sucks. Survival mode sucks. Do you want to risk going back there? And then your brain starts to create this protection narrative of do not risk it, stay where you are, keep it comfortable, all right? And this is hard to get out of because the biggest obstacle here is comfort. You have comfort in the stability, all right? Now, depending on your values, so as humans, we value certain things. If one of your top values is security, you will struggle to get out of stability, all right? You will struggle to get out of stability, all right? Reason being, security is what keeps it together. You want to keep a comfort zone, but you want security. So if you're someone who has security as a high value, very often in the stability bracket, you'll buy a house, you'll do things that are really safe to protect for the future, and you'll just protect. You'll stop looking above because you'll try to protect what you have. You'll start worrying about how do I diversify, how do I get myself so I can't lose what I have, all right? On the flip side, if one of your values, or your higher values, is freedom, like long-term financial freedom or however you define freedom for yourself, you're more likely to risk stability in your comfort zone to push yourself to the next level, all right? But stability is a challenging one. It's a hard one to get out of because you need to give up what you have for what you want, all right? Now, there's a great quote by Will Smith. I heard him in one of his interviews, and he says, at any moment, you have to be willing to sacrifice who you are for who you want to become. Who you are for who you want to become. You have to be willing to give up the stable life for the higher life, for the more successful life, the more free life, all right? But it's hard to give up because you spend a lot of time hustling in survival mode, all right? So with this video, I want you guys to identify where you currently are. Are you in the survival mode, trying to get by, or you're in stability mode, where you're comfortable, all right? So then we identify, okay, I'm in a good, comfortable level now, but I want to progress to the next level, all right? So you've identified I'm currently in a comfortable situation, but I'm willing to take risks. I'm willing to risk going back down to survival mode in order to push on. So there's one more barrier you'll run into, all right? It doesn't even sound like a barrier when I say it, but I'll explain why it's a barrier, all right? The third barrier is success. How is success a barrier? All right, well, success is a barrier because we go from stability and then we start achieving our biggest dreams, our biggest goals. We start achieving those financial obstacles, financial goals that we set for ourselves 5 years ago. We start getting the dream house and dream living environment that we've always wanted. And guess what? Once you start to get success, all of a sudden, the drive starts to drop. Any of you guys who've been on a long pursuit to achieve something, you get to the top of the mountain, you climb your mountain after a X amount of time. What happens when you get to the top? First of all, it feels good, maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for a week, if it was a real big pursuit, but then very quickly, it's this, what now? What now? All right, and many people, when they're climbing the success ladder, they're generally doing it for the external things, all right? It's the financial situation, it's the life experiences, it's something external. And when you achieve that, then very often it's way, way harder to keep going and keep repeating that success, all right? It's the anomalies who repeat success over and over, all right? Because you hit the ceiling where it's like, I climbed the mountain, what can I possibly do now? All right, there's this, I think in boxing, they use this analogy quite often, where to be the champion as a boxer is really, really hard, all right, to become a world champion. However, it's infinitely harder to stay there. It's infinitely harder to be a long-term heavyweight champion, for example, than it is to get to the big champion. Because here, you're in the pursuit. You're just using desire as your fuel. But now you get there, it's like, now what? Now what do I do? All right? So we'll start to talk about how to overcome each of these barriers. But these are the ones you want to progress through. Survival, to stability, to success, and you want to push past all of them. Each one of them can keep you stuck for any amount of time. All right, most people, in all honesty, get stuck in survival mode, that survival ceiling, their whole life. Scary to think about, but majority of people do get stuck here. A lot of poker players get past survival, especially the players who apply themselves well, and they get stuck on stability. The very, very good ones get to success and push beyond that, all right? So for you guys, have a little think. Which of the ceilings or the barriers are you currently closest to? Are you close to your survival ceiling? Are you close to your stability? Or are you closest to your success ceiling? We'll now discuss how you can break past each of these ceilings, or at least start moving in the right direction away from them, all right? So first of all, survival ceiling, all right? The hard part is you're trapped in a very limited construct, all right? Everything's now. I need to pay the bills, I need to act immediately, I need to get this immediate circumstance fixed, all right? That doesn't leave you any space to think ahead. There's no long-term planning. There's no saving, because you're just paying the bills and getting things done in the moment. So imagine survival. Imagine like you're splashing around in water, all right? And your head keeps going under, and you're drowning, all right? And you put your head above for a second, get some air, and your head goes under again, all right? In that moment, is that a good time to set your goals? Is that a good time to plan the future? Is that a good time to start thinking about where you want to go and the successes that you want to have? It's not, is it? Because you're in survival mode, all right? So when we're here, that's what life feels like. You'll be watching this video going, all well and good for you, Adam, but I've got bills to pay. I've got these situations coming up right now, and it's tough. Life's tough for me. It's not the same for you. It's hard for me, all right? We create this victim narrative that everything's immediate, and we need to get stuff done, and we haven't got time to waste, all right? However, in survival mode, if we just relaxed for a little bit, if we just stopped life for a little bit and looked around, we'd realize we're in water about this deep. Our head's in the water because we're splashing around, and the reason we're drowning is because we're faffing around and we're splashing water on our face. As soon as you stop, you're like, it's not as bad as I thought. Yes, there's still things that need to be taken care of in survival mode, a lot of things, but the panic doesn't need to be as extreme as you think it is, all right? And what you need to do to get out of survival mode, you need to stop thinking about what you want and what you need, so paying the bills, getting money, getting this next checkpoint. You need to put all your attention on who you need to become. All right, I know this is a hard switch for a lot of people to make, but rather than worrying about what you're trying to get, think about the person you need to become to get to the next level. It's a huge switch, all right? Rather than I need this money, I need this outcome, who do I need to be? All your attention there. The longer you put your attention there, the better, all right? If you can put your attention there for 3 to 6 months, you will come out of survival very often, especially if you're applying yourself in the right way. Who do I need to become? Just ask yourself that over and over. When the mind starts going, yes, all well and good, but these bills to pay or this situation, who do I need to be? How can I show up better? How can I show up as a better version of myself to get myself out of the situation? How would a person who's at stability or success be acting in this moment? All right, so change the narrative and focus on who you want to become. All right, then you start moving out of survival zone. All right, this might take time for a lot of you guys, but then your next thing is stability. All right, now stability, you need to ask some serious questions, because for some people, like I said, if security is your highest value or one of them, you might not want to leave stability. Why would you? What's left? If security is number one value, what am I getting from going to success? I'm risking security for success? Doesn't work. But for most players who security isn't a limiting factor, you might want to go, all right, I feel comfortable now. Do I want to allow this feeling of comfort to stop me, this barrier here to stop me? Or do I want to start getting used to being out of my comfort zone? All right? So we want to spend some time here. All right? Now when we get here, a lot of fear kicks in. Now we're having to risk what we have for what we want. All right? And we have to ask serious questions. Do I want to keep climbing? And when we're climbing from stability to success, we have to realize that we could take a step back and end up back in survival. All right? So we need to get very clear, am I okay with being back in survival mode? Now, when you're in stability mode and risking going back to survival, you need to use one powerful framing. And that is, you've gotten out of survival mode before, you can get out of it again. All right? Because the worst fear in stability mode is that you end up back in survival mode, you blow all your hard work that you spent 3 years getting out of. But because you've got out of there once, the chance you get out of it the second time, the third time, and the fourth time are infinitely higher. All right, so even though you might have spent 25 years there, which I did, I spent 25 years in survival mode, once I got out of it into stability, even when I dropped back to survival mode a year later, I knew I could get out of it. All right, so that allowed me to push on because I knew that I had confidence that I could go forward. All right, but you've got to have some serious questions. Am I willing to risk what I have to go to the next level, for the next opportunity? All right, if not, you opt out the game at that point, which is fine. It's just a game of leveling up in life. If you want to opt out of stability, have a nice family, a nice house, amazing, great for you. Just do that consciously. Don't be the person who opts out at stability, but then makes loads of these stories and excuses and resentment about not going to here. If you want to go to here, you've got to risk stability, all right? And this is often, you'll see with your buying decisions, all right? I see it over and over when poker players get 100K, 200K, the first thing they buy is a house. It's like, okay, all well and good, but now you've locked in stability. Now, you had nothing to lose a second ago, now you've got the house to lose. Now you've got all this stuff you're building, you've got it all to lose. So here, we want to realize the stuff we've got, we can get it again, and we need to be willing to risk it in order to get to the next level, all right? So a serious question about, do you want to risk your current life for the life above? If the answer is yes, you can then go on to the next level, all right? And start working on how to do that, all right? And then we have success, all right? So success as a barrier is basically because all the fuel on the pursuit, all the dopamine, the desires to get there, it gets achieved and it all goes away. And now it's like, okay, I'm standing here at the top of the mountain. Where do I go now? All right. And like I said before, most of the pursuit with success is to get to an external outcome. Financial freedom, the dream house, the dream scenario, the dream girl, whatever it is. All right. And when you get there, the question in your mind is this it? Now what? And if you don't find answers to those questions, very often your one success becomes your only success, which is fine for some people. But if you want to continue to have more and more success in your life, you need to make a very, very powerful shift. All right, I say this over and over. A lot of people who have a lot of success make this shift subconsciously, but it's so powerful. And all the top poker players I've worked with who've had long, successful careers have made this shift. All right, and the shift is you change your narrative and your goals from being external and extrinsic to being internal and intrinsic, all right? So an external goal is out of things, all right? The life circumstances, it's the house, it's the cars, it's the money. But the thing is, those don't fulfill you for long. And once you achieve those, you very quickly ask, what's next, all right? So once you've achieved those, you then need to start going, what do I really want? What lights me up? What makes me feel alive? What makes me feel great about myself? You need to start thinking your next successes need to be linked to the internal pursuit. And very often, it's about becoming a better version of yourself, all right? Similar to in survival mode, who do I want to become? When you're up here, who do you want to become again? Who do you want to become in terms of your contribution to the world or your contribution to the people around you? And very often, rather than focus on external, me, you go internal, but also on other people, all right? Very often to repeat successes, you need to start thinking about, how can I contribute to other people? How can I help other people on their journey? How can I be a role model in other people's lives rather than just trying to acquire things myself, all right? So if you don't do that, you'll get stuck on this kind of external successes of money and you won't be able to get past it, all right? So when you hit the success ceiling, often you have to take a big step back and reevaluate, all right? It's one of those weird moments where you get to exactly where you want to be and now you're like, this is so weird. What the hell happens now? It might take 5 years, 10 years to get to the success, top of the success mountain in your field. And then it's like, is this it? It's literally, is this it? What next? All right, this is the reason when, extreme case, when people like kill themselves, like celebrities who like have it all, have the world in their hands, and they commit suicide because they climbed the success ladder, but they didn't create this internal fulfillment, all right? So now we need to switch our focus to internal measures, intrinsic things. And very often it's things that make you come alive, it's things you're curious about. All poker players who have long careers is because they're very curious about learning, about improving, about growing way more than the metrics, right? Some will have an ego, they'll chase bracelets and getting the recognition, but for the most players who have long and successful careers, it's because they get this intrinsic feeling. They feel alive by playing poker. They don't need the money, but money's a byproduct, and they do it over and over because they love the game, all right? So, let me know in the comments which of these you're relating to most. Are you close to survival ceiling? Are you close to stability? Are you close to success? Now we can oscillate between them, we can play in these boundaries. So you might be coming out of survival towards stability, but very often you'll hit these ceilings. Each one of them is a roadblock, all right? Because once you come out of survival, it drags you back down, all right? So imagine you're in survival mode and I give you 100 grand. You think all your problems are solved, but guess what? They're not. And once that 100 grand has settled in for like a few days, once you got over the excitement, very quickly, you will spend that 100 grand. You'll spend on dumb shit that you don't need, and you'll drag yourself back to survival mode. You'll also lack motivation and lack drive, all right? So even though you think a certain thing's gonna get you the success you want, you've got to change your mindset. Your whole way of thinking has to change. And survival is the hardest one. Once you're out of survival, you've proved to yourself you can climb the ladder, and now you need to go, am I willing to risk my comfort for the next level? But yeah, let me know in the comments below which of the three you resonate most with. And if you do enjoy this kind of content, smash that like button before you go. And if you're a poker player who wants to be leveling up, you want to be pushing past your ceilings, and you want to be constantly going to that next level, click on the link in the description to find out more about the poker athlete concept. Every few months, I take on a new group of 10 students, and I coach them through changing their belief systems, upgrading their character traits, and developing new skills so they can perform at the highest levels as a poker player. So if that applies to you, click on the link below, put your email in, and I'll send you some further details regarding that. All right, guys, that's all from this video. Smash the like button before you go, and I'll see you in the next video.